everyone. Happy last Monday of March. I'm your host, Mallory McCoy, and welcome to this week's live streamed episode of A Monday Moment with Mal. As always, may this broadcast bring you what you need in the present moment. My love is extended to all of those who could use a little extra, and may my light exude positivity and kindness. Ashe. Let's seize the moment. Okay, as all of you know that have been watching my show, I start every show waist deep in gratitude. I have a million things to be grateful for, but I won't be specific this week because I don't want to lose you. This is a really important topic, and I'm grateful for your attention. So, I'm going to get right to it. This week's episode is motivated by the fact that there is a local election next week, Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. And for anybody who may be tuning in that's not in Kansas City, I don't know when your elections are, but I will direct you to a website a little later on in the broadcast so that you can know when your upcoming elections are coming. But I know that we have a very significant one coming here April 2nd, 2024. There are some incredibly important issues on the ballot, but the issue that I'm choosing to talk about today is the importance of local school board elections. Now, you know, I love a good definition, and I'm team #facts over feelings. So let's get into it. Shout out to usnews.com and xqsuperschool.org for enlightening me and now enlightening you on school boards by presenting the following facts. Number one, school board members are unpaid volunteers who embrace an active leadership role in their district schools. Like where they live. So most I assume, maybe I should look it up. I will look it up at a later time. But from what I understand, in order to serve on a school board, you have to live within the bounds of the school district. So, they're unpaid. That was news to me because I thought that they got paid a little something. Uh, all school boards are in charge of making the yearly budget for the school system, making rules for the school, planning the school calendar, and hiring, evaluating, and working closely with the superintendent. Number three, school boards oversee over 14,000 public school districts across the United States. Number four, there are nearly 95,000 school board members across the country, which that's beautiful, that many people want to be involved in their local district. Number five, although school boards oversee a wide range of academic, legal, and financial issues, from approving curriculum to hiring the superintendent, it's actually the superintendent that oversees the day-to-day operation of the school district. Number six, the campaign a school board member runs is important, but it's not as easy to get elected. Candidates must connect with the community. And in my opinion, from what I've witnessed, it's certainly a popularity contest. School board members can be elected or appointed. And if they're elected in an election, of course, but if they're appointed, they can be appointed by the mayor, county commissioner, city council, or a combination of these entities, which that was pretty enlightening to me. So the following definitions are important to the comparison that's pertinent to this discussion. So take you way back to third grade. Possibly. That's when I was first introduced to the branches of government. And then in civics class in eighth grade, we dove deep into it. But in case you forgot, the legislative branch is the one that has the function of making the laws. And the executive branch is the branch that carries out the plans. Now, there's some checks and balances in place, and sometimes the executive branch can override what the legislative branch has done, but that's not really in the case of the school district. So I wanted to present this analogy because it kind of works similar to how our government works. Legislative is to executive, as Congress is to the president, as the Board of Education is to the school district superintendent. Just as Congress creates laws or creates the laws of the land, the Board of Education maintains and modifies the policies of the school district, affecting all stakeholders holders of the school district. So they really hold an important uh, well, that their job is very, very important, and they have a very important, powerful thing that they do. Anytime someone can affect policy, they can change the whole trajectory of whatever's going on. So, um, because I live in North Kansas City school, so I'm in Kansas City North, which is north of North Kansas City and north of Kansas City metro area. The bounds of Kansas City are very unique in that you have the core of Kansas City, and then right above it, you have North Kansas City, and then right above that, you have Kansas City North, which goes all the way up and I think the bounds of Kansas City sits in like 5 counties. Um, yeah, I think it's 5. Maybe it's 5. Anyway, I would have to look it up again. I used to know. Long story short, the city of Kansas City covers a big, vast land boundary thing. So I am seated in North Kansas City School District. So I'm only bringing stats about the North Kansas City School District, although I know that there are other school board elections happening at the same time that our school board election is happening. So, according to North Kansas City's website, North Kansas City serves more than 21,500 learners from pre-K to 12th grade. The district is the second largest school district among the most diverse districts, with 22 elementary schools, 2 6th grade centers, 4 middle schools, and 4 high schools. In fact, to the point of diversity, in the state of Missouri, out of 453 school districts, North Kansas City sits at number 5 currently, but it hasn't always been that way. The district sits, like I said, right north of the metropolitan area. And even, I'm not a Kansas City native, but even when I moved here, I was alerted that I shouldn't move up north because not many people of color lived across the river. That's what divides the Northland to the metropolitan area. Anyway, it was even deeply rooted, like you do not travel to the north because your life could be in danger. So um, people don't often place in their minds that it was not until 1955 that Brown versus Board of Education passed. And at that time, the Kansas City, Missouri School District was 100% white. And at that time was forced to integrate due to the law, and in turn caused the Great White Flight to suburban areas. And if you didn't know, or you forgot, or you just haven't heard, the history of redlining also started right here in Kansas City with J.C. Nichols. Black people couldn't even purchase a home up north until way after the Fair Housing Act of 1968. And even I just wrote a dissertation about, well, not about suburbanization, but I certainly had to talk about it. And the effects of suburbanization are still in effect today and still affect families of color moving into suburban spaces. So, um, and let me bring the point home. I was a teacher in North Kansas City School District for my whole teaching career, my full-time teaching career, I should say, because I'm still teaching, just not primarily in one district, which I absolutely love because I get to see a whole bunch of things. But anyway, during my time in North Kansas City schools, the demographics of the schools started to drastically change. I started in 2008. And from then on, the demographics did stark they shifted in like stark ways. This resulted in people purchasing land farther north and the district expanding north. We have North Kansas City Schools has one school that sits right across from another school. Now, on one side of this the street is Kansas City, and on the other side of the street is Liberty. So that's how far north this district has pushed, and north, even more north. And there's a stark dividing line in the district. Schools north of Highway 152 are demographically more white and affluent, and schools south of Highway 152 are more diverse and receive Title I funding. In fact, there are no schools north of Highway 152 that currently receive Title I funding. Um, I've even sat in conversations in the teachers' lounge with teachers who have self-admittedly moved their family farther north due to this demographic shift. Which brings me to my topic of the week, the importance of local school boards. This discussion and this episode is really a long time coming because at some point in my doctoral program, I realized that the function of the school board actually is more important than I initially thought it was. It's wild that it took me being in the school system this long to figure out just how important the school board actually is. Public education chose me at an early age. I started in public education at the age of 3, and it kept me throughout my whole entire K through 12 experience. Um, so, and then I got out of high school, went straight to college, and then from college went straight back into an elementary experience. And so I've never left. I even served through the pandemic and post-pandemic. So that's something to be said. Despite my separation from the school schedule, I'm still very much connected. I sub for North Kansas City Schools, Liberty Schools, and 2 public charter schools in the metropolitan Kansas City area. And personally, I send my 7-year-old to a neighborhood public school where he receives the greatest of care and attention from his teachers and other staff members. I love that he is where he's at. Um, Despite all of this experience in the school system, when I was old enough to exercise my voting rights, when it came to school board elections, I would just vote for someone because they were female, or I liked their name, or I seen a sign, and that was the most signs that I seen in the neighborhood, which is actually pretty ignorant reason to vote for someone. I didn't do any research to see how old they were, if they had any kids in the school district, what they do for their profession, what they already do for the community, or anything else. So it's basically a bird box vote. If you know that movie Bird Box, it was like, ooh, ooh, just trying to get through. And then vote for something else that was on the ballot, which I probably should have just kept those things blank if I didn't know about them. Anyway, now that I am an informed voter, I choose to inform myself. Not only do I know the importance of doing research on the candidates that we vote for, but I know that it's also important to decide if their policies match up with what's important, not only to you, but also to the community. But since it's your vote, you can decide if you're voting for the best interest of your family only. That's your prerogative. But for me, there are 3 pressing factors that assist me in choosing who I will vote for in local school board elections, and particularly in this upcoming school board election on April 2nd, 2024. First of all, age is on the ballot. A board member doesn't have to have teaching experience, but you have to be connected to kids in some way. You have to have children who are currently attending the district, or you have to have spent some time in a classroom or in other spaces interacting with students in some capacity. And you get extra points, extra credit points if you have interacted with post-pandemic students because they are different. Let's talk about it. And you get some extra credit points if you know how to do lattice multiplication. And so if you have to look up what lattice multiplication is or grid multiplication is, then you are far removed from what's happening in schools. Number two, in my area, race is on the ballot, especially in a diverse school district like North Kansas City schools. It's important for stakeholders in a district to have people that look like them representing them. In fact, one of the board members that is a candidate but not a person of color was recently, actually all the board members were recently interviewed for a local newspaper. And one of the board members that's been on the board for a while talked about how North Kansas City school librarians encourage book offerings that serve as windows and mirrors for all students. And that's wonderful that the books serve as mirrors for all students, but representation matters in every way. So every level of leadership should have mirrors for what their stakeholders look like and in the community that they serve. Unfortunately, the demographics of the North Kansas City schools board members has not looked like the current population of students being served in the whole history of the board and the school district. The public at large must do better. But you know who's voting? It's the people who have owned their homes for years and no longer have students in the school district. Just thinking about my neighbors that are adjacent to me, like to the front, to the side, to the back, none of them have kids in the district, but they will most definitely show up to the polls. I'm the only one, or we're the only one, our household is the only one with a board member sign in the yard and a child that attends North Kansas City schools. But they don't have to publicize, nobody has to publicize who they're going to vote for. Because ultimately it's our right to vote for anyone that we want to. But I feel that my neighbors will vote for their mirrors, which don't look like the mirror I'm looking in. So and for one of the persons of color who's on the ballot, he can't even campaign door to door in this area because in 2024, it's still not safe for Black people to go from door to door. Let us not forget that Ralph Yarl, the young man who attends a high school in this district, was shot less than 10 minutes away from my doorstep trying to find his siblings. Which brings me to my next point, which is for me, where the candidate chooses to live and the businesses they choose to support are also on the ballot. It matters to me if you choose to live in the diverse area of the district. There are more schools in the southern tier of the district than the northern tier of the district. And even though there are pockets of affluence on the southern tier of the district, there are still neighborhoods that don't look like the students that attend many of the schools in our district. It matters because you can speak to the issues of your neighborhood if you live there. It matters because people want to feel that you understand what it means to live like them. And I want to know personally if you're relatable, you're approachable, and if you can listen with a lens of experience, and if not experience, a lens of authentic empathy. So not just like, oh, but like genuinely listen to the people and to try to understand what they are going through and what they are experiencing. And lastly, uh, uh, I want to know: are the policies that the candidates are pushing? Are they supported by data or are they supported by someone's opinion? Um, I think this is the problem with the elections as of large because we have these wealthy special interest groups, not necessarily on the local level, but also on the local level. They can be at any level, pushing money towards campaigns and ultimately driving people to create policy based on how they feel. So their money is pushed towards how they feel as opposed to what is supported by data and what is good for the people at large. Um, so I'm team policy over people, period. And if you're not pushing policies that are data driven, then you should not be able to represent people. As a society, we've had multiple examples as of late of people functioning in leadership with feelings and not fact, and prioritizing someone else's opinion because they've donated graciously to the campaign that they ran. Candidates on any level functioning like that don't work for all people. They just work for the people that are able to fund their campaign and in exchange, their opinion to be put into policy. So, my call to action to you on this day is to vote. um, can you just show up and show out, please and thank you? Um, Look out for your county's or look on your county's board of elections website to see where you can vote early if you cannot vote on the day of the election. And let me tell you, um, I am a notary. And if you need any type of assistance with absentee ballots, or you know anybody in your life that needs assistance with absentee ballots, let me know so that I can help out. Um, I can help to notarize and I can help to get the ballot to where it needs to go. So, to schedule something with me, please visit my website. It's right here. Oh, on the side at the bottom, MalloryMotary.com. That's my business, my notary business, to schedule an appointment with me. Furthermore, when you vote, be an informed voter. I know that there are some more pressing issues, or not more pressing issues, but people prioritize what they want to prioritize. And question one is on the ballot, whether we fund the Chiefs in the Royal Stadium with our tax dollars. And that will bring a lot of people out to vote on April 2nd, but also school boards are on the ballot. And it's wild to me that we would choose one issue over the other because our tax dollars are going to both things. So just be informed about all issues that you're voting for. And then lastly, thoroughly vet who you'll be voting for because it's not just a vote for you. It's a vote for the kids, and it's a vote for their kids, and it's a vote for their kids. Really, the decisions that we make now will affect generations after generation. So, if you're a registered voter with no kids in the district, you could even ask your neighbors who have students in the local district who they want to represent their children. If we are a village, then everybody has to do their part. And to wrap up, I'm going to leave you with a quote and a list of affirmations. This is a quote that I found online. Every election is determined by the people that show up, which we know that it's a game, and sometimes the rules don't always transfer or they don't apply to everything because people find loopholes. So um I say that to say that I changed it to local elections are determined by the people that show up, because really the closer that the vote is to your community, the closer impact that it has on you. Not to say that the other issues on other levels don't affect you, but the local elections certainly do affect you. So get out and vote for every local election, and just be mindful of the other elections because those get a little cutthroat. And so here are some affirmations, like, ooh, some affirmations for this electoral time, because although we have an upcoming election on April 2nd, this is also a presidential voting year. And so it can get a little ugly. So here are some affirmations to help you out. I am only in control of myself, my actions, and my words. I know how to set boundaries around the election media I consume. I acknowledge and accept my feelings about elections. I am willing to listen and empathize with others' point of view, even when I don't agree. I have the power to limit my exposure to anything that causes me stress and anxiety. And I trust that everything in life is unfolding perfectly. And that was a a repeat from last week, but that goes with everything. You have to trust that everything is in divine order. And before I go, and before I let you go, please help support the arts this week. The nonprofit that I work for, Youth Course of Kansas City, we're having our gala this week. Our gala. I don't know how you say it. People say it different ways. Anyway, um, we're selling tickets. You can come get. There's heavy on the hors d'oeuvres and listen to some performances. All proceeds go to bringing music education to our community. And if you don't want to attend, you can purchase a ticket or bid on items for the silent auction that is being hosted. So that's cool. Well, that's all for me this week. Thank you. If you're tuning in later, thank you for tuning in, period. I appreciate that. Um, Next week's episode and a few episodes after that, they'll be special. I'm walking the parenting plank. So, and then April is Autism Acceptance Month. And since autism has become a part of my everyday life, and Autism Acceptance Day is April 2nd, I thought I'd spill my thoughts about my journey with of my journey and my family's journey with my son. So, and myself, possibly. So, tune in next week for a show that I titled, uh, because I have this pressing question for myself. Am I autistic? Until then, love and peace to all of you and have the very best week.